Hey everybody, this is Ryan Mallory with SharePlanner.com, swing trade in the stock market. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about position sizing with small accounts and what that looks like for people trading with $500 or $1,000 in their account, and how you can position yourself for learning how to swing trade even when you're trading with a small account. Now, one of the things you want to remember when it comes to trading with small accounts is that you can't have too high of expectations. And I know that the marketing out there for almost everybody that you go to when it comes to a website that is trying to sell you on a trading service is that they want you to believe that you can take a few $100s and turn it into $1,000,000 almost overnight. And that's really not true when it comes to the stock market. Nobody does that. It would be like hitting the lottery. And yes, can it happen? Sure. But the odds of that happening are it's not like you have a 1% chance. You have like 1 in 100 million of a chance of that actually happening. And if it happens to you, it's going to be just purely on luck. In fact, I would probably say you have just as good of a chance of winning a scratch off lottery ticket or a Powerball. So you don't want to look at trading like you're going to, if I'm starting off with a small account, I'm going to be able to turn that into $1 million or $10 million or whatever. It just doesn't happen that way. Trading is very arduous. It's very difficult, and it takes a lot of discipline and mental focus and clarity. And that's what we're going to talk about in this podcast episode. We're going to talk about this question that a guy, he asks me to call him EH because that's his favorite bourbon. Good choice. And he's a longtime listener of the podcast, so I'm excited about that. Well, when I say long time, he found the podcast last year. So EH writes, "Hi, Ryan. I found your podcast last year, and I've been going through all your episodes. I love how timeless that they are, and I am able to learn lessons from past years. A little background on myself. I have some stock trading experience, but have never traded purely on technical analysis. I am currently working through some personal finance goals like paying off some debt and growing my savings. I am beyond lucky that I am beginning a new career that will pay off more, which will allow me to reach my savings goals much more quickly. I'm wanting to learn the lessons of technical trading, swing trading. My goal is to stay engaged with the markets, get as much repetition scanning charts and practicing these techniques. I have some money that I am setting aside, $500, that I would like to be able to begin learning these lessons with. Would it be better to spread the small accounts across multiple trades, say 18% of my account per trade, or just focus on one trade at a time? As I gain confidence in the techniques, I will grow the cash over time with adding more to the account. If you have a past episode that addresses this, feel free to send my way. Thank you again. And if you want to use a Florida Redneck name, you can, but also you can use E.H. Taylor in honor of my favorite bourbon. This doesn't need to be on the podcast, but I'm hoping that my experiences in military, such as discipline, well, I guess it's on the podcast, but nonetheless, I think it's actually pertinent to this. It says, I'm hoping that my experiences in the military, such as discipline, emotional control, and careful planning, will help me learn these lessons faster. I also think by accomplishing my personal goals, it will build up the discipline required to be a successful trader. Once I hit some of my goals, I look forward to enrolling in your class, The Self-Made Trader, to strengthen my skills. Right now, I am just watching YouTube videos and reading books. Sincerely, E.H. Okay, E.H., we got some talking to do here. And yes, I hope you're able to join The Self-Made Trader. It's a great course. I think a lot of people can learn a ton by taking that course. It's a long course, but very, very in-depth, and you're going to gain a lot of knowledge in the process. But to your questions, what are we talking about here? We have a guy who's starting off with $500, and he wants to be able to use technical analysis and spread his risk out. Now he's asking, should he do that, or should he just go all in on one trade one stock at a time? Now, when we're talking about $500, especially in this world that has just gone crazy with inflation since 2020 or 2021, probably better put. Obviously it's not as much as it used to be. It's more than likely it's not going to be something that ruins you as a person. But what I get nervous about is if somebody's starting off with $500 and they go all in, and let's say they blow up their account on their first trade. Is that going to be life-changing? Likely not, but it also creates some bad disciplines. So one of the things that I would do going into the trade is, or before you start trading, is determine, okay, I'm looking to add to my account over the years. So whether it's by adding or whether it's by growing, if I'm starting off with $500 in my account, maybe I divide it up between two trades. So, $250 allocated to one trade, $250 allocated to another. And then if I grow the account to 1,000 or I add another $500 to the account, either way, it's at $1,000. I'll still keep about the position size the same because I'm still learning, and I will, be able to trade with 4 positions at that point. It gets to 1,500, maybe I increase it a little bit and go to 300 over 5 different positions. And then, 3,000 over, then, spread it between 6 trades at 500 a pop. So you get what I'm saying. Have a roadmap. What do I want to look my position sizes to look somewhat like? It's certainly subject to change because you may find that your tolerance for risk needs to be a little bit less, or that you're getting too stressed, or that you don't really have an interest in those trades enough for it to warrant your attention. So maybe you do need to increase the position size because your focus just isn't there. Either way, you need to have that plan. What I would avoid doing is just making it all in or all out, because yes, it's not a ton of money, but that one trade with the entire account kind of puts everything on the line every single trade. And I really am not a huge fan of that. Now, if you wanted to do something like closer to 18% per trade, let's just say for the sake of a $500 account, right? Instead of saying 18, let's just say like 20%. Then you're looking at $100 per trade across 5 positions. Now, if you're looking to take partial profits, and I like to do that, it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult if you're looking to take a third and a third and a third, or a quarter, 4 times. It probably makes more sense to do halves on your partial profit. So, you get a good profit under, in your account, take half off the table, let the other half ride as long as it can. And doing that sets you up to really be able to buy a stock that's no more than, $50 a share, because, if you buy 2 shares, then and you're looking to, sell half and half, you really can't go more than $50 a share on, if you're looking to put 20% on each trade within a $500 account. So on the S&P 500, there's about 87 stocks that you could choose from there. And if you're looking at it from the NASDAQ 100, there's only 12 stocks out of the 100 that you could trade. So, and some of those are overlapping, between the NASDAQ and the S&P. But maybe you go a little bit more aggressive and you say, okay, with the $500 account, I'm going to go with 4 positions at $125 each. That's like $62.50 per share that you can trade a max of it, because we're looking at taking partial profits along the way, which means half and half. That means at that point, you've only increased the number of stocks on the Qs that you can trade by by 2. So it's like 14 out of 100 stocks on the NASDAQ 100 that would qualify, 113 instead of 87 on the S&P 500. But where you may be able to find some opportunities is on IWM. So on IWM, you would have roughly about 800 stocks that you would be able to trade from. And so that gives you a little bit more opportunity. There's actually more than that, but what you want to avoid is starting to get into stocks that might be trading at, a couple bucks or 10 cents or whatever. You don't want to be trading those kinds of stocks at all. That you're starting to get into the penny stock world, and I strongly oppose jumping into that world, because that's a great way to get just destroyed in the stock market, because there's so much scam, there's so much pump and dumps. You don't want anything to do with it. So still, what I would do is focus on stocks trading over $10 a share, and then depending on your position size, know how many shares you can trade by taking still like partial profits, whether that's a third or whether that's a half. To me, it would make more sense to do a half, but every person's different. Paying off the debt, huge move there. And the reason why I say that, a lot of people right now, there's higher delinquency rates with credit cards than ever before. If you're in the camp where you're delinquent on your credit card, there's really no business trying to trade stocks. I mean, you got to fix that out. You got to take care of the home front before you're trying to swing trade, because when you do that, you're introducing a lot of emotions into the stock market. That's dangerous, and it's not something that you want to subject yourself to. You're trading out of need, not from a technical or a technician standpoint. That gets very dangerous. And then when things don't go right, you start losing money that you can't afford to lose. What do you start to do? Well, I'm not selling because I can't afford to sell. I'm doubling down. Then I'm tripling down. Then I'm taking maybe even some some cash offers on your credit card and you're putting that in there, or money that you had set aside for something else. And it becomes an addiction. It becomes a gambling habit. It's like you're on DraftKings and you're just, throwing money away, or going to Las Vegas and betting everything, all the chips in the middle. You've got to avoid that mindset. It's very dangerous to go down that path, and you want no part of it. So if you have large amounts of debt, credit card debt, stay away from the stock market. It doesn't make any sense. Another one too that you want to really be careful of, because a lot of people are getting reintroduced to this right now, because for I think last 3 or 4 years, we haven't had to pay off anything, and that's student loan debt. So if you have student loan debt, I think some of the people I talk to, I think some of the rates on it's like 8-9%. Maybe it's even higher. I'm not really an expert on student loans. I don't really get into them. I don't have any. Thank the Lord. But if you do, you really need to, figure out, okay, how does trading impact that? $500, is that something that's going to impact it? I mean, can you even afford to pay off your student loans? If that's the case, I mean, you definitely don't have any business trading, but, can you afford the $500 on the side, while still paying it off? To me, I certainly wouldn't try to increase the account size until I paid off that student debt, because that student debt, that's a lot of interest. The reason why I differentiate between student loan debt and per se credit card debt. Credit cards 23 to 25%. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about trying to make a really good sizable return, just to not make it more advantageous to be paying off your credit card. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So I really like what EH is doing, trying to pay off the credit card debt. I'm getting dry mouth here, so I got to drink something here. It's sweet tea. It's not bourbon, but yeah. So we talked about the debt. We talked about the position sizes. Talked about having a plan for how to increase your portfolio over time and what that looks like, because we don't want to be just doing all in on our trades just because it's only $500. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build discipline over time. And one of the things that you want to remember, and he talks about being in the military and the disciplines that he learned from that. One of the things that we don't want to do is just say, okay, I have 2 positions that I can carry at any one time with $500. You don't have to be in the market all the time, though, just with that 2 positions. I know that because when I started off, every time I had new money, I had to invest it right away. And I would usually end up losing a good chunk of that because I thought I needed to be in the stock market with that money, because it didn't really feel like I was making much money trading that. And that's the other thing too. You have to temper your expectations, like what we talked about in the beginning, where you're not going to be a millionaire overnight, or, make just tons of money, or become ready to quit your 9-to-5 job. But even more so, you got to temper your expectations. Look, I'm trading with $500. I need to keep in mind that what I'm trying to do here is learn how to trade. And I'm learning at a place and time where I'm trading with live money, which is much better than trading with paper money. Paper money doesn't introduce emotions. You'll still get emotions with a small dollar amount, much more so than if you're trading with paper money. Not a huge fan of paper money outside of just learning the mechanics of trading. But if you have $500 in your account, I wouldn't even try to set a goal up for trying to double that before the end of the year. Is it possible? Yeah, it's definitely possible. But try to just focus on making good trades. If that takes you to $1,000 in your account by the end of the year, that's great. But if you're seeing swings where your account size is going from 500 down to 300 and up to 800 and back down to 400 and up to 1,000, yes, at the end you might be at $1,000 at the end of the year, but look at the path to it. And the reason why that's important is that if you're seeing 20-30% swings in your market on a regular basis, you're trading way too volatile. You're not managing the risk very well at all. Don't look at it from a dollar standpoint. Look at it from a percentage standpoint. It's okay, if I'm seeing daily swings of 10-15%, something might be wrong there. And so this is the time to figure that out. You don't want to be figuring that out when the dollars actually means something. You don't want to be trying to figure that out when all of a sudden you're going to be panic trading and selling at the worst possible time, because that's what happens when you trade with larger dollar amounts. You're going to panic because you didn't iron out these issues early on in your trading when you're trading with a smaller amount. For me, if I'm seeing, 2 to 3% swings in my portfolio on a daily basis, that's probably telling me that I'm swinging with a little bit too much volatility. I'm talking about the entire portfolio. not just like one particular stock. You can have big swings in individual stocks, but you want to make sure that you're focused on all these aspects as if that $500 that you were trading was 500 million. You want to make sure that you're managing the risk and that you're watching what kind of swings am I getting in my market, because you're trying to learn these lessons now so that you don't have these lessons now that are much more costly down the road. Now, before I close it up, I want to talk to you about the military aspect of his trading. And I do think that that's great. First of all, thank you for serving. I love the fact that, I have people that have served this country right in the show. I'm eternally grateful to what you guys have done to help serve and protect us. It means the world to me and to my family as well. So thank you for that. The emotional control that you probably have learned in the military and that does carry over into trading. Absolutely. I think the routines will absolutely carry over to trading, because there is a daily routine that you go through in your trading. From the moment I wake up, I'm doing things on a routine, from, how I make my coffee, when I make my coffee, to when I start scanning for stocks, when I'm writing up my trading plan for the day. All of that stuff is routine driven. And so being able to carry over what you learned in the military is absolutely critical. And I think that some of the technical skills that you learned in the military and all of the different tactics will certainly help you with training. It'll also help you with risk management. So I'm glad that you were able to bring that up. And I do think it'll help you learn a lot of the lessons faster. I think you'll take it more serious. I think you'll be more successful as a result. If you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you did, make sure to leave me a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to me on. Those go a long ways to helping me continue to build the reach of this podcast. And it means the world to me. I like to hear back from you guys and see what you guys are thinking. And now, you can leave comments on Spotify and we can interact there as well. Plus, make sure to keep sending me your questions, Ryan@SharePlanner.com. I do read them all, just like I read EH's here, and we made a podcast episode out of it. I want to hear your problems. Get as detailed as you need to get, man. Lay it all out there. It doesn't need to just be a paragraph. You make it a page if you want to. I'll read the whole thing. People like listening to your problems because it's probably going to help them solve theirs. So make sure to keep writing the show, and check out SharePlanner.com, or you can go to SwingTradingTheStockMarket.com, and it'll take you right to my SharePlanner website and show you all the different offerings there that you can check out, including the Self-Made Trader. Again, if you have any questions, shoot them my way, Ryan@SharePlanner.com. Thank you, and God bless.